Well, hello, and welcome to the BYOG Studios. I'm your humbled host, R. Glenn Kelly, bereavement and grief support writer, author, speaker, and grieving father. I'm in the studios here today standing before the infamous green screen only because I'm using it to kind of help introduce you to the grief support we offer. Yeah, the green screen can be helpful, all right, but it can also be fun. One minute I could be standing here and with a snap of a finger I'm standing on this gorgeous tropical beach you see behind me. Another snap, and I'm on the snowy mountaintop in What's that? What? It's not, well, listen, that doesn't seem to be working at the moment, but you know what always does? That's right, the Grief Legacy Project, parent organization of the BYOG network and many other fantastic grief support endeavors. Hey, would somebody go out to the trunk of my car and get the other logo out for me, please? Thank you very much. So listen, spend just a few moments watching the following brief interview to hear more about our mission, more about our support, more about the free resources for the bereaved. And subscribe to our YouTube channel today. It costs nothing, and the more subscribers we have, the easier it is for others in need to find us. Don't worry, we don't track your email address. We don't even get it, so you don't have to worry about some annoying marketing list where you get constant emails. At the most, you'll get a notification every time we upload something new to the channel. Support resources, that's it. And subscribing really helps you, helps us, and helps other grievers. So thank you for joining us. And we at the Grief Legacy Project and BYOG really look forward to walking a path of hope and healing together with you. What inspired me to start the Bring Your Own Grief Network? It's a very good question. Thank you so much for asking. Well, of course, it's inspired by my fellow grievers. It's inspired by those others that are walking down a path towards hope and healing. See, I'm a bereaved father. I lost my 16-year-old son and only child, Jonathan, to a rare but not rare enough heart defect. Of course, I was emotionally devastated by his loss. Being a father was my identity. See, my blueprints, the plans I had made for my own life had been taken away from me against my will. For some time after Jonathan died, I had no idea who I was. I even got to the point where I wondered if I was even a father. Like so many others, it became easy for me to bury the grief inside, thinking it would allow me to at least function day by day. And this went on for a very long time until, thankfully, one random morning as I was showering for work, Jonathan came to me. I'll spare you the details, but just know that I felt him more than I saw him. I felt him all around me, and it dropped me to my knees right there on the shower floor. He spoke to me then, not in words I could hear, but in feelings that actually made it to my brain as if they were words, if that makes any sense. And those words weren't exactly pleasant either. There was no question that my son was actually lovingly admonishing his father. He started out with, "Dad, how dare you?" You know, to this day, those words seem so clear to me I still get chills. But he wasn't done. "How dare you not grieve me," he said. "How dare you not live out the legacy I left behind for you? How dare you not know you are still my father?" Then as suddenly as he came, he was gone, and I cried. I mean, I truly cried for the first time since he had died. There on my knees, in the shower, I wailed and screamed and sobbed tears without caring about my pride or my manhood. And I didn't stop until I was emotionally exhausted, but instead of feeling despondent, I felt something new inside. I felt a peace and purpose at levels I'd never felt before. I understood at that moment that I am the father of Jonathan Taylor Kelly. And I understood I was to carry out the legacy he left behind for me. See, Jonathan's rare heart defect almost took his life. Miraculous but very dangerous and experimental operations actually saved him and gave him a prognosis for what should have been a full life. Throughout his 16 years, his short 16 years, Jonathan allowed doctors to research and study his condition and the results of the surgeries that he'd submitted to. and he was proud that he was helping others born after him with the same condition. He lived a life of helping others he didn't even know or would probably never meet, even after that condition unexpectedly took his life. That was the legacy he left behind for his father to live, service to others. And I was reminded of that in the shower that morning. But before I could carry out his legacy for me, I had to first understand myself and what I was going through. Long story short, there was very little support for grieving men out there. So I turned to self-study. And when I'd experienced enough aha moments from discovering what made me who I am, or respond in the way that I do, and that I was okay, I was driven by Jonathan's legacy to write my first award-winning book, Sometimes I Cry in the Shower. Yeah, it was inspired by that fateful morning he came to me. After that, and mostly because I was a man willing to stand up in front of others and openly talk about men's feelings, I would be invited to speak at national and regional conferences around the country, on TV and radio shows, universities, civic groups, and even big businesses. I'd write other award-winning books and continue to speak, and before I knew it, I'd become a recognized authority on the somewhat opposing male and female emotions, especially as they relate to loss and relationships. And over these years since John's passing, I've spoken or presented before thousands of other bereaved souls, all of which experienced the pains of loss in their own unique and personal way. Something I learned along the way was how wonderfully helpful it can be to gather together with others who've been through the same fire. And in that manner, there are some really fantastic bereavement support organizations which meet in virtually every city in this country. The Compassionate Friends comes to mind, the Bereaved Parents of the USA, and I've worked with so many others I'm ashamed I don't have time to talk about here, but they are out there. These large peer-to-peer support groups cost nothing and help in healing by gathering grievers together on a regular basis, usually monthly, to share the pains of loss and hold out a hand of support and understanding to one another. But just as important, along the way I came to recognize that grief is unique and individual to each of us. Sometimes I might need to get support on my own timeline, in between those monthly gatherings with others. Sometimes I might want to find something that speaks directly to what I'm feeling at that moment. Sometimes I want to work on grief on my own, and that's why I founded the Bring Your Own Grief Network. It's a place where those in need can find webinars, videos, and other bereavement support resources, all created and presented with the awareness that we are not the same, and we don't grieve the same, but we are okay. Listen, no one, including me, will ever completely heal from the loss of a loved one. Nor do I want to, really. But I wanted to create an environment where you can bring your own unique thoughts, bring your own unique pain and confusion, bring your own individual need for answers, and bring your own grief as we walk together down the path towards peace and purpose. Listen, I encourage you and everyone listening or watching to join the Bring Your Own Grief Network today. There's no cost to subscribe or take advantage of the resources available, which grow daily. I only ask for one thing: bring your own grief. Thank you.